My very deep love of nature and my interest in plants began with the very first spring of my existence, crawling about across the family yard just as soon as the northern snows had given way to emerald grasses and leafing trees. As fascinating to me as the bugs and the butterflies were the new sprouts and the sheltering bushes, providing both a secretive hideaway and a botanical inspiration. Favorite toddler game involved my leaping from one strip of lawn to the next, doing whatever I could to avoid my feet ever touching down on pavement or concrete. By the age of 5, I was already spending more time climbing trees than I did playing down there on the ground. At times, seeing how high up that I could get, and at other times, lounging about on some lower branches just above the heads of the unknowing passerbys. Later, as a teen runaway, I fancied myself to be an appointed protector of the green, a youthful, staff-toting druid conversing with a living biosphere in the secret language of flowers. Long before any herbal remedies for my adventurer's wounds, I was already suspicious of conventional doctors and conventional medicine, and sought ways to support my body's own natural healing processes. Then, by adulthood, I considered plants not only among my most inspiring teachers, but also as my personal and precious kin. And the reintroduction of native medicinal species has become an important part of my restoring and rewilding the botanical sanctuary that's indeed my home. And yet, never once did I imagine that I would be giving decades of my life to helping support, grow, diversify, and evolve the contemporary field of herbalism. So welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Plant Healer's Path. Here, where we both explore and celebrate the arts of healing and of vital, healthful living. Please take just a few seconds to like this video. And it'd sure be great if you'd share the link on your social and maybe leave for me some thoughts and comments down below. Thank you so much. Now, I was actually in my mid-20s before I'd even met a single herbalist, let alone before I'd put to use any of the medicinal plants myself. I was selling my eco-spiritual paintings to tourists on the plaza and the sidewalks of old Santa Fe when I stumbled for the first time into an utterly enchanting apothecary, filled with alluring scents and sparkling glass jars with roots and remedies. It was there that I became good friends with a kindly toking, often joking, and unconventionally brilliant practitioner by the name of Michael Moore. 5 or 6 years earlier, I'd become one of the very first organizers for that radical environmental guardian group known as Earth First. I was staging civil disobedience actions all across the country in defense of old-growth forests and giving what were called howling presentations at basically any college or event that would have me. Then, in 1985, I invited Michael to lead a plant identification walk near Jemez Springs during the annual gathering of eco-activists, known as the Round River Rendezvous. It was this intersection of healing bodies and ecosystems that has since filled both my days and my dreams. I'd never become a practicing clinician, but the invigoration and the support of folk herbalism became a core element of my life's mission and every single minute going forward. It might be hard to imagine it now when there's so many herb stores and clinics around, and when even giant box stores stock commercial herbal supplements on their brightly lit shelves. But the 80s and the early 90s were actually a rather sedate time for the fields of natural medicine. At this time, plant healing was being largely discredited and denigrated by the majority of society. Folks who tended to diss all natural healing as being flaky woo-woo, or else the wishful superstitions of the uninformed and the underclass. Unlike the broad spectrum of offerings available today, there were relatively few schools and only a tiny smattering of herbal conferences that one could attend. It was in fact this paucity of herbal-hearted resources that got me so dang involved in the first place. Beginning with my co-creation of the Good Medicine Confluence way back in 2006. I wanted a way to integrate nature awareness and natural healing on a national scale, to encourage alternatives to the pharmaceutical industry and industrial medicines. I wanted to empower folks to take responsibility for much of their own healing, and, when so inspired, to study the craft and launch their own efforts to help others. Kiva Rosethorn, my mission partner and one-time wife, had inspired my excitement with her immense love for herbs and for other plants. But she was now lamenting just how very many miles away we were from any herbal events that she might want to teach in. I never even thought of organizing a gathering before, but having performed and presented at hundreds of concerts, hundreds of conferences, I figured that we could do it too. The two of us performed every needed task, and as of this moment we still do. From picking out a venue and dealing with the intimidating logistics, the teacher and topic selection, to things like logo and graphic creations, website design and construction, media and outreach. Year after year after year, the Confluence has rolled forward as a tent and a community for diverse plant healers, as a place for the celebration of brilliant misfits and would-be world changers and reality shifters. Alchemy of new ideas, visions, and approaches. New herbal books and businesses. New bounce-bottom rhythms for this dance of life. Finding the most exciting of kindred teachers turned into an unending uncovering of what are truly some amazing people. Folks motivated not by personal enrichment or recognition nearly so much as by an inner drive to serve, to help, and to heal. Some of these have been elders, whether recognized only in their own towns and communities or else perhaps famous worldwide for their books and their wisdom, while scores of others have been youthful agents of new generations, bringing to the table a novel approach or a fresh way of looking at things. In all cases, it's been a genuine pleasure of mine to get to know and to love so many gifted practitioners, to have a chance and a means to platform them, sharing their unique voices and offerings with all who might benefit. It seemed that such a rich coming together of sages and sentience, of wisdom and passions, verily cried out for further expression and extension, and thus quickly followed the launching of the first issue of the Plant Healer Quarterly, a 200 or more pages ebook featuring in-depth articles from the wondrous herbalists and botanists, conservationists and medicine makers, activists and artists that we've met along the way. From there, their brilliant writings are archived for the future in compilations in the Plant Healer bookstore, focusing on themes like materia medica and fungi, clinical skills and herbal business, ancient traditions and plant magic, aromatherapy and entheogens. There were already multiple books by myself out there on the market, from Gaia Eros and Kindred Spirits, created for alternative spirituality and ecology audiences, to books like Pancho Villa's Motorcycle and Old Guns and Whispering Ghosts, titles which were meant to be mind-openers for my rural readers and history buffs. But now, my outflowing of wordage was dedicated to the inspiring and the equipping of healers and culture shifters. And even my long-standing anima eco-spiritual teachers were angled for those drawn to healing and the recreation of a more whole and healthy planet. My books like The Healing Terrain, covering wildcrafting, plant conservation, and sense of place, like Wonderments, a favorite of mine with its weaving of plant enchantments and heightened awareness, the liminal and the numinous. Or the plant healer's path, introducing the range of elements in a fulfilling herbal study and practice. One of the most pleasurable of my efforts has been doing the artwork for our magazine, for our books, for our website illustrations, the suggestive logos and the banners, the posters and graphics for our shirts, and so many of even the most satisfying arrangements of words. Feels especially good to be given over to the wetting of a brush or the swirlings of a pen on paper, swishing your way into a silence, and wholly receptive to river murmurs and canyon breezes, to the songs of the plants and the urgings of the muse. We make damn little income on any of these productions, given the tiny markup that's possible with print-on-demand publishing. But there's really no choice, as 7 often flooded river crossings make stocking and shipping from here utterly impossible. Fortunately, making money has never been as important as making a life and making a difference. I've only needed just enough moolah to fill the larder and to fund these projects to rouse the world. I've never even been able to afford medical insurance, so it certainly helps to have had herbal helpers and allies like Kiva, of course, and mi amigo fuerte, Kenneth Profrock. Folks I can turn to for insight and direction, and to have had access all this time to medicinal herbs when I've needed them for addressing my own, sometimes significant health issues. No matter how well informed the articles I've ever read are, no matter how many articles I ever edited for the magazines, I will never be able to grasp the actions and the applications of herbs anywhere near as well as those that I call my friends and tribe. But then, that's a fundamental part of the message that I've always taught, that the excitement lies in all that we've yet to find or to understand, and that it is our potential, perhaps even our purpose and our assignment, to do all we can with what we learn, with all that we value and love. I'm admittedly a renegade, an outlaw, an artist of the edge, a flawed contributor to failed marriages and an offender of purists, a proponent of the incredible and the improbable, a revolutionary that's all too cognizant of the failures of every revolution I've ever heard of. For all my attempts at improvement and refinement, I remain at the core a felonious dreamer, devoted to what I'm told is an impossible Don Quixote quest. I'm a presenter of perspectives and possibilities that conventional society firmly rejects. And what's most valuable and honorable of all that I am, of all that I feel, of all that I give, is rooted in an equally differentiating, mistake-making, lesson-learning, shape-shifting, and boundary-breaking biosphere, rooted in the paradigms of enchanted hedges and healing plants, and of all of you who love them. From life-changing to life-saving, herbs have long made life for me not only possible, but much more vital. Herbs have served me as example setters and timely teachers, served as a bridge between the natural and the human, the scientifically testable and the ultimately magical. The plants themselves are the reason I've given decades now, so many years, trying to enliven the spread and the practice of herbalism. They've provided the language of healing and wholeness through which I now tell the stories of all I've ever learned and all I've discovered. Their scent and their beauty buoy me. Their infinite manifestations inspiring me to do everything I can to help create a reality that's even close to being as healing and as lovely